Hey.
Alright, so we got a second Woj bomb yesterday, or 2 days ago by the time this video is coming out, and the Boston Celtics have traded for former Buck Drew Holiday, and they will be sending out Malcolm Brogdon, Robert Williams, and a couple of first-round picks to Portland to get the deal done. You know, the reports after the Damian Lillard trade happened that Drew Holiday would be back on the move immediately with the Portland Trailblazers. I didn't think it would happen this quick, but they get the deal done in time, just in time for media day to then happen. And the Celtics and the Bucks have created their own new tier in the Eastern Conference when it comes to being a competitor, especially after the dud off seasons that the Miami Heat and the Philadelphia 76ers have had. You know, the Bucks and Celtics, with all the new CBA regulations and rules coming into play in the next couple of seasons, they are taking their chance and they're going for these rings, and I don't blame them. It's really exciting to see just from a fan perspective, and I'm just here to give my thoughts on the trade and on who should be the favorite in the East as we approach the new start of the season. So let me just get my thoughts on the Trailblazers out of the way first. I'll echo some of the things I said in my Damian Lillard trade video, just because it's the same teams involved for the most part. But Portland will be interesting. They now have two startable centers on their roster with DeAndre Ayton and Robert Williams. And the really fun part about that is, how some NBA, stat sites might use circle graphs to depict how good a player is. Maybe they'll have playmaking, shooting, rebounding, defense, and the players, fill up this little circle graph. If you don't know what I mean, I'll try to find an example. But the cool part about DeAndre Ayton and Robert Williams is that together, they pretty much fill up that entire circle, but with no overlap at all. There's very little overlap at the same time. So that will be an interesting thing for Chauncey Billups and Portland to figure out, with the now and the future in terms of their team. They also get Malcolm Brogdon, who I imagine will probably stick around for a little bit just to be a veteran presence for the guys like Simons and Scoot to work with. And then around the All-Star break trade deadline, they'll probably get another pick or two for Brogdon. Now back to the reason why you clicked on this video, let's talk about who will be the best team in the Eastern Conference, at least who should be the favorite as we approach the season. And so to start, I just want to dive into what the new rotations are going to look like for the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks, because they have some pretty stacked rosters now. Obviously with the Celtics, they had the big three of Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis. They now add a defensive mastermind in Drew Holiday to fill those Marcus Smart-sized shoes that were left from the trade earlier in the offseason with the Grizzlies. And for the sake of this video, I'm going to throw Derek White into the starting lineup for now, but I wouldn't at all be surprised if Al Horford would get the nod every now and then, just based off matchups or injuries, or if the other lineup just isn't playing well. And when it comes to a team's starting lineup in six-man, the Celtics have a very, very impressive lineup here. But the part that does worry me is the bench, and I know I see a lot of people saying that the Celtics have a really deep bench and that they're good, 1 through 10 or 1 through 9, 1 through 8, whatever you want to say, and I'm not sold on their bench yet. I'll have to see them in action. Maybe my mind will be switched, a month or two into the season. But when you look at the guys on the bench, the returning players are Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, and then again Al Horford, Derek White, whichever of those two ends up being the sixth man. And I just don't think, at least initially, that this bench is as good as their bench was last year. You have a whole lot of question marks. The only player, again, that I really trust on this bench is whoever will be the sixth man out of Al Horford and Derek White. From there, Peyton Pritchard has been clamoring for a bigger, more expanded role on this team, and he finally gets it, but again, I'm not sold on him actually being a rotational player in the NBA. Sam Hauser did a great job being a 3-and-D player for this team last season, but he also had moments where he wasn't necessarily trusted enough to be a full-time rotational guy, and I'm just worried it might be more of the same of that this year again. And as for the pickups the Celtics made this offseason, I love O'Shea Brissett. I think he will be awesome being a wing that can replace Jason Tatum and get him some rest. But if you look at the other pickups the Celtics got, Svi Mykhailiuk, Lamar Stevens, Wenyen Gabriel, these are all guys who have played well in the past at some points, but have never really broken into a rotation and been a full-time guy. And if you're a Celtics fan, I don't think you should be banking on these guys being there for you in the playoffs, when the games really matter at the end of the season. So I don't know. I just feel like there are a lot of question marks with the Celtics bench. Again, the top of their lineup is very, very good, very strong. They took a hit on defense. I still think they did. The loss of Rob Williams will be a big factor, although again, he just wasn't always healthy, and Kristaps Porzingis will be a fine rim protector to help fill those shoes. But again, he's also not the healthiest guy in the league. There's also the fact that Al Horford is now like 36 or 37 years old. He was great last year. He's going to start declining at some point. It sucks to admit, but it's going to happen. I really hope he can last another year, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. And at the end of the day, a lot of people are saying that Jrue Holiday is an upgrade over Marcus Smart. And while I don't necessarily disagree with that, I do think that come, again, playoff time, when the important games are happening, Celtics fans will miss those timely Marcus Smart threes and big offensive plays that he would make. I mean, getting Marcus Smart the ball in the post was a pretty surefire basket against a lot of teams when they had smaller guards defending him. And again, it was just a nice little go-to bucket that you could go get every now and then. And while Jrue Holiday offers a lot of those same skills, he's just not nearly as consistent on the offensive side of the ball. I've seen it times and times again where he will shoot like 25% from the field in big games, and although he won't be asked to be a top scoring option on this team, I mean, lately he should be the 5th scoring option on the starting lineup, assuming Derek White is the starter and not Al Horford. So he shouldn't be asked to take a lot of shots. He should be primarily just for defense. But again, I would just like to have people in the court that can make shots, and Jrue Holiday has not always been one of those guys. Now switching over to the Bucks, again, I mentioned a lot of this stuff that I'm going to mention in the Damian Lillard trade video, but just to reiterate, I think their defense obviously took a hit, but at the end of the day, when you have Giannis Antetokounmpo and Brook Lopez defending the rim, I don't think your defense can be bad. They're probably still going to be at least top 10 in the league. Same thing for the Celtics, they'll also probably be top 10, but I do think the Bucks still have the edge defensively in this matchup. And then offensively, again, Damian Lillard is a huge upgrade over Jrue Holiday. I don't understand why people are saying it isn't, because just watch the tape. It very clearly is a huge upgrade. And while I don't think the Bucks offense will be as good as the Celtics offense, they're still, again, they're going to be one of the best offenses in the league. They have Damian Lillard, they have Giannis Antetokounmpo, two guys who are capable of getting you 30 points any night. But again, the issues for the Bucks arise when you look at their depth chart and you notice their guard rotation is not nearly where it should be in terms of being a competing team for the championship. Their front court is awesome. Again, Giannis, Brook, his brother Robin, Bobby Portis off the bench should have probably made more noise for 6th man of the year last year. They've got Jay Crowder to be a veteran, presence in the locker room. Marjon Beauchamp should be able to take a leap. I love Andre Jackson, that draft pick. Malik Beasley is a nice sharpshooter off the bench. Pat Connaughton will probably start at the 2 and is just a very reliable 3-and-D guy. But as of now, their only point guards and true ball handlers on the team are Damian Lillard and Cam Payne, which is two solid players, but when those are literally the only 2 point guards on the roster, I have some issues with that. So with all that said, at the end of the day, I think I still give the Milwaukee Bucks a slight edge over the Celtics in terms of preseason rankings, which at the end of the day, does that even really matter in the grand scheme of things? Absolutely not. We don't know what the injuries are going to look like. We don't know what these teams are going to do roster-wise during the season. I know the Celtics have a ton of more draft picks that they're probably going to look to make some more deals at the trade deadline. Bucks don't really have any more assets to trade unless they want to get rid of, a Chris Middleton or a Marjon Beauchamp. So they're kind of stuck where they are currently, but again, overall, these two teams are going to run the Eastern Conference. I think the Cavs might push a little bit here and there, but it should be these two teams in a tier of their own. I really hope we get to see a conference championship matchup between these two teams at the end of the season, because that would be a really awesome series, again, especially if everyone is healthy. And my Celtics have gotten the best of the Bucks the past couple of times that they've played, so we have that for going for us, but at the same time, I think the Bucks have the slightly better roster with a little bit more star power on their side. And at the end of the day, that's what runs the NBA, is when you have the best players on the court, you're usually going to end up being the team that wins. And with a duo like Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo, I'm just not sure if the Celtics are going to have the firepower to keep up with that offensively and defensively when the games really matter. Because if there's one thing I absolutely know for sure as a Celtics fan, is that this era of the Boston Celtics just tend to crumble a lot when it comes to crunch time at the end of big games, and while I'm going to be rooting for them 100%, I can't look away from the very obvious patterns that have been holding us back from championships in the past couple seasons. But that's all I got for this one. Make sure to let me know who y'all got coming out of the East this year. I'm rooting for my Celtics, but I do think right now I would have to choose the Bucks if I put my life on the line. But that's enough for me for this video. I'll see y'all in the next one.